Today, I will show you a way to add diagrams and images to ChatGPT. Yay, finally! This can be used to enhance your outputs and describe the steps visually. There are a number of reasons for this, like demonstrating the key steps, showing the flow of events for a project, a campaign, or just to visually validate what is being output. If you get value out of this, like and subscribe for more. Stay tuned. Right, so we want to create a sequence diagram, starting a business, include any key decision points, and add in any data steps. We're going to be using a plugin, which I'll show you how to enable in a short while. Alright, so as you can see, quick work was made by GPT over here in creating a sequence diagram on the steps that you can follow. Alright, so you can now scroll down, get more information around it, and ultimately wait for the item to finish. And if you want to update it and refine the output, click on the link and it'll open up an application. Alright, so you can basically now see exactly how it's built it, what the commands were. To enable this, you would right click or click on your settings, go in and turn on plugins. Alright, you've also got access to browse with Bing, you've got some general and other data controls. So first things first, you need to make sure you're on ChatGPT 4, enable the plugins. So click on your plugins and now search for the Show Me plugin. Click on install and it will describe what it's going to be doing. Alright, it's installed, close, and now you're ready to start using it. So make sure it's ticked and it's using ChatGPT. And now we can fill in a prompt. So we want to try and use the software architecture example here. So you're a software architect designing a database system. And what we want to try and do is let's see if it can actually describe a data flow. So we need to obviously punch in the command to say that this is what we're expecting the ChatGPT to achieve for us. All right, so it's basically inputting some steps and basically how it's going to sort of cover off what we want to diagram. All right, so designing a database diagram for a CRM system that has the following entities. So we want to try and take a software architecture principle and design an entity relationship diagram. All right, so here's a basic diagram for the CRM system, and it's ultimately going to give you a bit more visual information over there. Again, if you want to try and expand on this or enhance it, you would click on the link. So pretty decent first off. Again, this is not the finalized version. It's still in beta, and I think it's just going to get better. Let's try and add a bit more information to this now. So let's create a proper workflow diagram for ETL development. And we want to add in a presentation layer, a semantic layer, and a consumption layer for the data using a data fabric methodology. The data fabric methodology is just a technique that's used to transform data across the flows. All right, so as you can see here, we've got source systems, extracting, transforming, loading to the presentation layers, manipulating the semantic layer and creating a consumption layer. And it'll now then give you a bit of a breakdown of what those things mean. So pretty decent. So again, it's a nice visual aid to enhance what GPT has produced. All right, so let's know if we want to change it from top to bottom. Let's go make it flow left to right. So that's your typical data architecture pattern. Information is visually represented left to right because, well, I suppose we read from left to right in Western countries or Western speaking countries. And let's give this a go. we want to also include governance and security. And so let's add a little bit more complexity to it and see how it actually produces the output. I would ultimately like to see governance around all of those steps and security around all of those steps. And again, it's now produced a diagram that's able to include all the steps in a data mesh or data fabric environment. It's pretty much a standard ETL process, and that's great. All right, so we can now have a quick squiz at what exactly it's created. Click on the diagram if you want to edit it. So let's go into the diagram and explore a little bit more around how it's using Mermaid as the software application to create these diagrams. All right, so let's change the color. So click on your theme, and I just want to make it yellow so that we can all see it. Enable the pan and zoom, so you can obviously scroll in and out. And we can now go to the top left to see exactly how it's structured the diagram. All right, so let's, for example, say we've got two source systems that we want to try and add here. So most companies have multiple source systems that they want to try and grab information from. So for example, your CRM system number 1 or CRM system 2. I'm not going to go into specific names here for demonstration purposes. We'll just keep it as this. All right, so we've now added it in, and if we hit the close bracket and zoom out a little bit, you'll now see that CRM system has been added as a block. That's all pretty nifty. All right, and let's scroll down and put in a data flow. So our CRM system needs to flow into our source system. So it's basically a type of source system that we want to try and include in our data flow diagram. All right, so let's just add in a data flow connector. And what do we want to connect it to? We want to connect it to our source system. So if you're not sure what that is, just go and have a look up at the top. And I think the command or the abbreviation is SS. So SS. And what it'll do now is it'll create a connector to SS. All right, so just, if we've got multiple source systems, let's add another one. So create source system number 2. Let's open it up and pop in the next thing. As you can see on the right hand side, it's basically in real time updating the output. So you can now see the system 2 is sitting in the workflow. Let's just connect it up and ultimately join the dots. So relatively straightforward. I think it's a great starting point. I mean, I would never use this in a traditional data warehousing or ETL development, but again, really good. It's got a really good sort of visual representation, quick and easy to say, all right, these are the areas you might want to consider when building out a data system. All right, there's obviously a huge amount of detail that goes behind it, but good start. All right, so there's multiple other diagrams that are available in Mermaid. We've got user journeys, and by basically some good ideas there that you can start trying. What we want to try to do now is let's create a user journey. Let's see what it does, and if we wanted to expand on our user journey for a website product. So this is a slightly different example. So you typically do a user journey through a product or a sort of website or a user experience type of design, and you would basically pop it in here, and again you would now see an output being produced. So let's have a look at this and see what it does. All right, so we've added a bit more complexity into it. I've asked it to create a login. I asked it to create a sign up page if the login didn't exist, and ultimately the steps that a person would go through to fulfill an order on a website. So pretty standard, so pretty sort of software development standard compliant. I wouldn't use this again as a fully blown solution. Don't consider yourself an expert software designer if you're going to use this. But again, really great way to think and get a starting point. All right, so we've got flow diagrams over here, which are useful. We've got class diagrams. This will probably be for your programming. You could probably use this for entity relationship diagrams as well if you really wanted to. Here's your ER diagram, showing you the relationships between your data objects.